Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the workshop, Natural Solutions for Depression. Welcome back to day 3. Whoo! We have been having a great week. Tell me, what have you been liking about what you've been learning? What have you been curious about? What is something that you never knew before that you learned for the first time this week? And what are some things that maybe you had heard before, but you got a great reminder of it this time? Or you understood it a little bit better, or you understood how to apply it into your own life. I want to know all the things. Tell me everything. We're gonna go into day 3 today with that same energy that we set as an intention on day 1. A lot of you mentioned being open, being curious, being hopeful, being committed, having this time for you without distraction. Like, we deserve that for ourselves. We deserve time where we can give and pour into ourselves, whether it's our knowledge or showing up and moving our body or just having quiet time or being social and being with those people that fill us up the most. And we truly do deserve that because, one, everybody does. And 2, it helps us align to feeling our best. Even if our best in this moment today is like 68%, like I'm at 68% today, but that is my best for today. And I'm going to show up with that 68% like full force. And maybe some days you are at 100% of your best and you are going to show up and be in that moment of your life 100% full force. I talk about this in the warrior workouts all the time because not everyone feels their best every single day. And so we can't expect to push ourselves all the way every single time we show up to move our body. But that's the beauty of it because we're consistent and we are just going to do the little things step by step to move us even an inch forward towards whatever it is that we're working towards. And for a lot of us here, it's working towards improving our mental health. It's working towards having that experience of life where we are fully in it. We're fully here for the joys, the capacity to experience the good stuff. The joy is like just heart exploding, like with amazing feeling. And we all know that life does deliver really hard SHIT. I don't know why I'm not cursing. I feel like I need to be professional when I'm doing this presentation. And the thing is that we are able to withstand those storms, that we are able to withstand those winters and trust that we can have our feet on the ground, that we can reach out our hands and hold on to the people in our life that help make us stronger in the times where it's really freaking hard to stand on our own feet. And when we do learn something new about what does make us stronger physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we apply it. And that's what I want to get across to you today is all the knowledge that you've learned in the last 2 days and what you're going to learn today is useless if you don't put it into action. And the cool thing is you don't have to put it all into action at once. Sometimes we feel like we need to do that, right? Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I know it is early by you, but I'm really happy to hear you. Get that coffee, right? Get cozy, and what a way to wake up in the morning. But this is the thing. So let's dive into today with that intention on our hearts. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right in to day 3. So this is actually a picture. I keep forgetting to tell you what these pictures are on the beginning of each workshop day, but this is a picture of me and my family over the summer. We went and did a road trip to a bunch of national parks in the US. So this is me and my sister and my brother-in-law at Grand Teton National Park. And it was incredible. We just finished a hike here and we jumped in this lake and it was just another level of beauty. It's just something, being in nature, moving your body, that right there is some strong mental health lifter, booster, if you will. So again, remember that you can always talk to me in the chat if you're watching this live, or you can go to the bottom right of the screen and hit that little chat box. I have been getting your messages in real time. Sometimes they're just late. When you guys are watching them, I'm in bed. So if you don't see me reply to you, know that I did get it, and I do want to hear about what you are liking so far. All right, so we have learned a lot this week. We've learned about the number one undervalued root cause of depression. We talked about myths and misconceptions. We talked about nutrition. We talked about food sensitivities and gut health. Today, we are going to focus on these psychological pretenders, basically things that are going on in the body, but are manifesting or masquerading as mental health issues, and they are a lot more common than you would think. We're also going to hit on the biggest mistakes to avoid today. No, we missed that yesterday. And then we're going to talk about a step-by-step way for you to heal yourself through these methods that we've learned over the last week. And just a reminder, so I have announced yesterday's giveaway in the Facebook group, so congratulations to the winner on getting a one-on-one coaching session with me. Today is the giveaway of all giveaways. I wanted to offer a 50% off scholarship to the Natural Solutions for Depression and Anxiety program, which I'm going to tell you all about in a little bit. But if you win this giveaway, you will get a 50% off scholarship to the program, which is actually pretty amazing. So I'm excited for whoever is going to win this giveaway. Remember, you just need to be the most engaged. So chat it up on the Facebook chat it up on the Facebook, post. You can email me. You can send me those chats on the live replay screen. So there's many ways to engage. All right, let's dive into today's topic. So what I want to know is, do you experience brain fog or have trouble concentrating, maybe have trouble remembering things? Do you find yourself feeling physically or mentally exhausted, like more days out of the week than not? Do you feel that your mood is kind of flat, like you don't really get the feeling of joy, but you also don't really feel lows, like super lows? You're kind of just numb. There's just like a disconnect. Or maybe you just feel like your mood isn't stable. Like you can be kind of good 1 minute, but then maybe you feel like all of a sudden your mood's going to drop. Like the floor is going to slip out from under you at any moment. And you don't know when that's going to happen. And that keeps you on edge or kind of leaning on the side of, well, I'm not going to get my hopes up. Is that something you experience? And do you experience experience anxiety regularly? Just like you say all the time, I'm an anxious person. That's just how I am. I've always been this way, and I'll always be this way. And that's kind of what you've been resigned to. But the anxiety is not really helping. It's not really going away. Is it really a personality issue, or is it something that you can actually do something about? And even on the more extreme, panic attacks, which are getting more and more common, especially with younger people, I've noticed. What we have been driving across all this week is that we can better address what's going on in our emotional and psychological space up here in our mind once we have created a strong physical foundation. And we have been talking about how to create that strong physical foundation for the last 2 days, and today we're going to hit on it even more. We are talking about 5 psychiatric pretenders, some of mental illness's common masks, a physical imbalance that can actually masquerade as a mental illness, ordinary physical imbalances that are underdiagnosed and leave you with symptoms that are indistinguishable from depression, anxiety, or other mental issues. And if you went into a doctor's office, they would diagnose you with depression because these symptoms are so indistinguishable. These undiagnosed physical issues can have you taking Prozac for a thyroid condition or Zoloft for a B12 deficiency, which is not going to address the root cause of the issue and may be the reason why you don't really feel much better on the antidepressants. The 5 we're going to talk about today are thyroid dysfunction, a gluten and casein sensitivity, blood sugar instability, B12 deficiency, and medication reactions. These are medications that are just like really common, not psychiatric medication reactions. I know we talked a little bit about some of these, but today I really wanted to go into more detail because they seem to have those overlapping, masquerading effects. So the first one we're going to talk about is hormone dysfunction, and we're going to talk about thyroid hormones, estrogen, and progesterone hormones as well. So anyone who's experienced like slow metabolism, or you actually do have a diagnosed thyroid condition, or anyone who's experienced PMS, that's like 80% of women, or PMDD, which is basically PMS like on steroids. Like, it's terrible. We're going to talk about all of those and how they can cause and masquerade as depression and anxiety. So let's talk about the thyroid first. So the thyroid is a butterfly-shaped gland at the base of our neck, and its functions are very important. It plays a key role in our metabolism, which doesn't just have to do with weight loss. It has to do with how the body is metabolizing, basically utilizing all of the nutrients and functioning on every single level. So it's a much bigger story than just how fast or slow I can lose weight. That's only one tiny piece of the puzzle. It also plays a key role in mood, digestion, our appetite levels, our energy levels, our body temperature, our sleep cycles. And hypothyroidism, which is the low thyroid function, occurs when the thyroid is underactive because of nutrient deficiencies or inflammation, and it does not produce enough thyroid hormone. It's so easy for the thyroid to dysfunction, especially with all of the toxins in our world today. You'll start to notice it initially in your mood, in your energy, and your cognition. Depression-like symptoms like fatigue and constipation. Maybe you'll start to experience hair loss, low mood, foggy thinking, can't really make a decision, hard to think clearly, feeling cold, having a slow metabolism, which you might notice as not losing weight or weight gain. Dry skin, muscle aches, and an intolerance for exercise are all some keys that might clue you in. You notice you're wearing socks to bed all of a sudden, you're only pooping a couple times a week, and you're penciling in your eyebrows. You're feeling apathetic and wondering why the heck you keep gaining weight even though you're barely eating anything. The thyroid needs vitamins to function properly, which goes back to optimizing our nutrition, which goes back to absorbing and digesting that food properly and utilizing it properly. The nutrients that the thyroid hormone needs to function properly include optimal cortisol, which just means having cortisol in the right balance throughout the day. Cortisol is not all bad, just like pretty much nothing is for the body is all bad, but it needs to be in the optimal levels at the optimal times of day. Iron, iodine, zinc, magnesium, selenium, B vitamins, vitamin C, and vitamin D are all vitamins and minerals that play a key role in this thyroid functioning, period. If they're not present in the right amounts, thyroid's not going to function. In postpartum, often the thyroid malfunctions or dysfunctions. And actually 10% of women develop a postpartum thyroid issue after delivery, even like months and months, up to a year after they have the baby. It doesn't just happen, within the few weeks or few months right after she gave birth, but actually can happen even up to a year later. I want to tell you a story about Mary. So, Mary was 31. She had no previous psychiatric history. When she started having like agitation and a racing heart, feeling insomnia, and feeling anxious, she was given Ativan, an anti-anxiety med, and Zoloft, an antidepressant, by her doctor. And she started taking them, but she didn't really love being on it. And she wanted a better solution. This is a woman who had a high stress job, and she pretty much got away with eating whatever she wanted, didn't really think that much about what she put into her body, kind of like always a last minute choice, a lot of fast food, a lot of junk food, a lot of processed food. She didn't exercise, she stayed up late, but she never gained weight, so keep going, right? That's what diet culture has done to us. Almost a year after having her first kid, she was hit with extreme fatigue, physical exhaustion and mental, forgetting almost everything, being absent-minded, forgetting appointments, forgetting that she met people. Her mood was actually okay, but still the amount and the type of symptoms she had would be categorized under a depression diagnosis by a doctor. So she started to dig. She started to be her own detective, and she started to work through this natural solutions protocol. She basically discovered she had a thyroid issue from her lab work, even though the labs showed a slightly underactive thyroid. It was still something that she took note of because we have special standardized lab ranges to look at these labs with, to really look at them through a clear lens, looking for this like subclinical, like this very, very, even if it's a slight underactivity, we take note of it. That's how vital it is. She learned that she also had antibodies, thyroid antibodies, which means autoimmune. The autoimmune disease of the thyroid is called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's quite common, and it causes the body to attack the thyroid. She was told it was a chronic disease and she would have to live with it her whole life and take Synthroid her whole life. But what she did was continue to deep dive, and she discovered that her immune system tissue had really been triggered by postpartum shifts. She noticed gut balance issues. She noticed that she was having suboptimal nutrition habits, and she also was experiencing blood sugar chaos issues. So through the natural solutions protocol, she improved all of these things. She was able to restore herself to health without thyroid medication or antidepressants. It took almost 2 years to completely resolve everything, but she did it. Little by little, throughout the 2 years, she made the changes. She started to see improvements. She started to see progress, and it was a long road, but 2 years is a short road compared to a lifetime. The next masquerader we're going to talk about is PMS and PMDD. So many women are familiar with PMS, premenstrual syndrome. It takes place usually about like a few days to a week before we get our period. And by some estimates, 85% of us experience it. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced PMS. Yes. PMDD basically feels like PMS on steroids. Or, in other words, imagine the worst symptoms of PMS intensified for a much longer period out of the month. PMDD tends to hit, like you could see in this chart, tends to hit like for the entire 2 weeks before someone would get their period. 2 weeks of intense PMS, PMDD symptoms. Up to 8% of women are said to experience PMDD, but honestly, it's more than that because about 20% experience that sub-threshold, like just under the clinical definition, and they have extreme, severe PMS. PMDD is a cluster of symptoms that starts prior to a woman's period, about 14 days before, rather than the 7 days before for PMS. Many deal with it over the course of decades, struggling to find a diagnosis, and are often left wondering, like, what the heck is wrong? Traditional lab testing, how common is this? Traditional lab testing often indicates that their levels are normal, which is one of the most frustrating things you can hear when you know everything is not normal. This is not okay. It might be common, but it is certainly not normal. So there's a difference in optimal ranges and normal ranges when it comes to looking at lab work. And this is something that I help you with specifically because we need to look at this with a careful lens, and our lab work is a huge piece of the puzzle. And we need to utilize it because it's going to tell us what direction is best for us, what supplements are best for us, maybe what dietary changes are going to be best for us in your therapeutic protocols. PMDD is often thought of as an abnormal response to normal hormone changes. All right, so this is something that in the functional nutrition world is treated naturally. So there's a few steps to this specific protocol, and because mood can be greatly influenced by this, because anxiety can be greatly influenced and caused by this, and even it's been suggested that serotonin levels are influenced by the changes in the hormones when someone's experiencing PMS and PMDD, this falls right into our territory. So the first step in this solution treatment is to balance estrogen and progesterone. And there's a number of ways to do this. Here are some supplements that are greatly beneficial depending on the reason why or how your estrogen and progesterone levels. So we need to look at the lab work to really get a clearer picture of which supplements are going to be best for you and at what dosages. But basically, chasteberry, DIM, and calcium D glucarate are 3 supplements that help very much in reducing or eliminating PMS and PMDD symptoms. Often there's a progesterone deficiency and an estrogen dominance, if you want to get into like the details a little bit, that occur a week or 2 before the period. And so chasteberry can reduce breast tenderness and bloating. It can reduce depression and irritability. And you would take it just after ovulation up to the onset of your period. The other things that I mentioned are particular depending on why or how your estrogen progesterone levels are. The other thing is to manage stress. That keeps coming up, right? How do we manage stress physically and mentally? Well, we can manage stress through exercise, coffee enemas, and doing a dairy-free nutrition choice. So not having any dairy in our regular nutrition. There's also adaptogenic herbs that have been shown to be helpful. These herbs basically support the body however it needs to be. Some that you may have heard of are like ashwagandha, rhodiola, things like that. The third step in the solution is to optimize nutrition for hormone and estrogen metabolism. So basically, we want to make sure that we're not eating things that could be increasing and causing estrogen dominance. And we want to be supporting, the full body. Another note is to reduce chemical exposures. This is a really big one. If anyone's heard of xenoestrogens before, they are basically, like, how do I describe this? They're things in our environment, often found in plastics, that mimic our natural hormones, but do not do hormone metabolism. So they mimic our hormones. Our body thinks that it's estrogen, but it actually leads to hormone imbalance. So they are causing major problems. Some of them you may have heard of, like BPA. You notice that in plastics, things say BPA free. That's because that is a xenoestrogen. These can be found in flame retardants. So in a lot of even in like mattress pads and other things like that. And then the last one that's a really big issue is phthalates, PHALATES, phthalates. And again, those are found in like plastic toys and plastic things that we use around the house. The last thing is we can support this through other supplements such as 5-HTP and GABA, L-theanine, and ashwagandha. So all of these can be taken depending on the individual, when and how much. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more individualized, but that is something that I help you figure out in the Natural Solutions program so that you know if this is an appropriate thing for you to take based on where you're currently at. And we're going to dive into more of those xenoestrogens and environmental hormone disruptors in the course as well. All right, so pretender number 2, gluten and casein sensitivity. Gluten and casein sensitivity. So I know we touched on gluten earlier this week, but it's estimated that 80% of the population has some level of leaky gut and gut microbe imbalance, which can make digesting proteins found in wheat and cow dairy problematic. So this can be like it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? But the leaky gut can cause us to be even more sensitive to this stuff, but this stuff can also start to weaken the lining of our gut depending on how much we eat of it, if we're eating genetically modified gluten, etc. So we're going to throw it back to, even if you are not celiac positive, you can still have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which I find is actually way more common, and more women and clients that I work with learn, because they feel it, how much better they feel when they remove gluten. Since it promotes leaky gut, it's just going to exacerbate leaky brain. And over time, these antibodies can form against the brain or other tissues, causing autoimmune diseases. In fact, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the autoimmune disease I spoke about before, is often caused by an unmanaged gluten sensitivity. And you can see these symptoms overlap so much with depression and other mental health stuff: brain fog, fatigue, depression, migraines, skin rashes, bone or joint pain, bloating, weight loss. You're seeing a lot of the same symptoms come up for a lot of these different issues. The limitations of testing on celiac disease are real, and you may not come back with a proper gluten allergy or celiac autoimmune response. But that doesn't mean that this is not having a negative effect on you. So the easiest way to do this is through a therapeutic elimination diet for about 4 weeks, where you cut out gluten completely. You cut out the known sources of gluten, like the pastas and the breads and all of the processed carbs, and all of the hidden sources of gluten as well. In the Natural Solutions program, I give you a full list, clearly listing out all of the products that contain gluten, all of like the hidden names for gluten. It pops up in things like soy sauce and dressings that you probably wouldn't even think that gluten would appear. So after the 4 weeks of cleansing your diet or cleansing your body and giving your body a chance to kind of like reset, you follow the reintroduction protocol and you see how your body reacts to exposure, to little exposures of gluten. And this you will start to track, and you just start to take note. Wow, I got a headache after I had that piece of bread. Wow, my skin rash broke out, or my face started to break out. Wow, my stomach was really disruptive. Wow, I got like really irritable. Wow, my anxiety spiked. All of these symptoms are notable. They're not all in your head. They are something that you want to take note of because they are signs and signals from your body. We're going to start listening to our body and trusting it. So this easily gives us the information that we want to know. All right, I hate to break it to you guys, but are you a cheese lover? Are you a cheese addict? My mom once told me that she would rather, what did she say? She always yells at me because I get it wrong. I say that she told me once that she would rather go to hell than give up cheese. And she says that's not what she said, but it was something like that. So are you a cheese lover? So casein and cow dairy is what we're talking about today. What is casein? So you know the casein, the poem Curds and Whey, Little Miss Muffet, Curds and Whey. Well, the curds are the solid part, and that is casein. The whey is the liquid part. So that's an easy way to remember it. Curds, casein, C. And casein is similar in structure to gluten. So what's the problem with casein? Well, actually, there are a few different types of it, but research study shows that in patients with casein antibodies, there's a 7 to 8 times increase in a schizophrenia diagnosis, and there's a 3 to 5 times increase in a bipolar disorder diagnosis. This casein actually interacts with the opioid receptors in the brain and creates that addictive feeling, making it really hard to quit it. Casein actually is one of the proteins that we can be more sensitive to, even different than lactose. So I'm not talking about a lactose intolerance here. I'm talking about a casein sensitivity. Now, I say cow dairy specifically because goat and sheep dairy actually don't contain the same type of this particular casein. And so people tend to tolerate that better. So I'm not saying give it up. I'm saying see what it feels like to eliminate it and have your body reset. And then if you reintroduce it and you feel and notice a symptom or a reaction, then you have your answer. Here's a story about Melissa. So Melissa's 56, CEO. She was suffering from severe forgetfulness. She actually thought it was early Alzheimer's, feeling depressed, noticed low energy and just like joint pain, dry skin, constipation, weight gain. She had not always felt this way, and she really wanted to just feel like herself again. She had been taking a cholesterol statin for a while and an antidepressant. But once she started to approach it from the natural solutions protocol, she really discovered that she had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, that autoimmune in the thyroid. She also had early signs of diabetes because her blood sugar was so out of control. Actually, statins, which we're going to learn in a second, can cause mood issues as a side effect and memory problems. She decided that she would stop taking the statin, obviously alongside her doctor's just observation. And through the natural solutions protocol, she addressed her high cholesterol through her thyroid imbalance. This is also known as a cause of cholesterol derailment. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but she basically addressed her thyroid issue and it helped her cholesterol balance out. She cut out processed foods. She eliminated gluten. She started a natural hormone, a natural thyroid hormone, and within 3 months, her symptoms resolved and her blood sugar came back into balance. Within 3 months, she was depression-free. She had healthy cholesterol levels. Her memory returned. She lost the extra weight that she put on. And over time, so probably, I think it was about a year to a year and a half after she really had this, she like really went all in on natural solutions, then she slowly tapered off her antidepressant from there. And that was because she wanted to. That's the only reason why. Okay. Pretender number 3. I just want to double check on the chat, so give me 1 second. Great. Okay, pretender number 3, blood sugar instability. We want to get off the sugar roller coaster. We talked about like the king de ka, like crazy spike and then hard crash of the blood sugar roller coaster. And that is not what we want. That causes anxiety. That can contribute to panic attacks. We do not want that. The most effective way to heal a dysfunctioning immune system and thyroid gland is by eliminating processed sugar to get your blood sugar under control. It's like when, I don't know how you feel, but sometimes when I deliver this information, I just imagine you guys being like, no, that's not what I want to hear, Kristine. That's not what I want to hear. That's not what I want to do. Tell me something else. Give me another solution. I'm just going to give it to you straight, guys. that's the fastest way to do it. So reactive hypoglycemia, we talked about it earlier in the week, but experiencing that anxiety, having trouble sleeping, waking up at 2 a.m., not being able to fall back asleep, hangry, irritable, headaches, panic attacks, even ADHD symptoms. So I want you to get real with yourself. Are more days, do you engage in the primary amount of meals, the primary types of foods that you eat, more days out of the week, more meals out of the week? Are they made up of refined carbs, refined sugars, like even go into cereals, special K-bars, muffins, cookies, pastas, macaroni and cheeses, things like that? The more your brain suffers by having an imbalance of blood sugar, by increasing the amount of processed foods versus whole foods, we really put our brain at risk for a lot of neurological issues, even as far as Alzheimer's. Actually, Alzheimer's disease has gotten the nickname type 3 diabetes because of the connections that science is really making and discovering about how much erratic blood sugar is connected to this cause. And there are more cases of Alzheimer's than ever, and it is not a gene problem. So again, the solution: reduce, at least we start in tiny habits, right? So start reducing sugar and refined flour and increasing those feelings of, and start increasing the proteins and the natural healthy fats and the whole food carbs, especially at breakfast. Eat every 3 hours until this response corrects itself. And it could take a few weeks, it could take a few months, depending on how severe and how long this problem has gone on, but the body is resilient and it wants to heal. I'm going to tell you a story about Kristen. So Kristen, only 21 years old, was struggling with crippling depression and anxiety attacks that would cause her to hyperventilate so severely that she would actually pass out. She experienced bipolar states that had her go between like ego-driven highs and numb lows, and she started to withdraw from family and friends, unfortunately, as mental health issues cause you to do. She tried meds and therapy, but she didn't feel like they were really working, and she truly felt like, this is it. I'm never going to know happiness. I'm just broken. This is who I am. It will never get any better. And this is something that I want everyone to take away something from her story, especially if you've ever felt like this is just who I am. So she did the Natural Solutions Reset program, followed it to the T. And within 8 months, her testimonial is basically, this protocol didn't change my life. It gave me a new one. It's as if I'd been wading through mud and I couldn't see clearly until I could. I could finally see and experience life without that filter. I've awakened to a new reality where I appreciate every smell and touch and taste I experience. My diet still stays about 80% consistent with what is recommended, and I've found what foods trigger what reactions in me. That is so important, you guys. And she said, I'm confident in my ability to go forward in this new way of living. Powerful. All right, let's move on to pretender number 4. This is a really interesting one. B12 deficiency. B12 deficiency is super common, especially in people with gut health issues, anything from like IBS to other digestive disorders, people with small bowel inflammation, autoimmune disease. And a major reason for this deficiency actually is not always not getting it through your diet. As I mentioned, B12, if you are vegan or vegetarian, is something that you'll more than likely want to supplement with to get adequate amounts, not even just adequate, but optimal amounts. But that's not always the reason for a deficiency. low stomach acid is. Vitamin B12 is one of the most important vitamins when it comes to depression and mental health because it improves our energy levels. Like, I can't even go into the amount of reactions that B12 is needed for, but think about any reaction that you need to create energy, to balance your mood, to have a healthy nervous system, so that fight or flight and grounded mode. And low stomach acid actually can prevent us from breaking down the food in a way that makes B12 available. Now, low stomach acid can occur for a few reasons. It can occur alongside low thyroid. It can occur because of chronic stress, because of aging, but it happens more often because of medications like acid blockers like Prilosec and Nexium and Prevacid, which are actually taken to avoid acid reflux. But low stomach acid is often misdiagnosed. It's diagnosed as high stomach acid. I think I spoke about this yesterday, but it actually is a low stomach acid problem for a lot of people. And I spoke about a way that you can test yourself at home to see if you do actually have low stomach acid. Stomach acid is critical for B12 absorption. So if we don't have enough, we're not absorbing it. So good to see you guys. There are two major roles of B12. One, it actually builds our brain chemicals. I demonstrated this to you with serotonin as well as dopamine. And it also plays a major role in turning our genes on and off. If you remember on day one, we spoke about epigenetics and how the epigenetics are the conductor of the orchestra and basically tell which instruments, aka which genes, to play and turn on and how loudly to play throughout the music, right? Throughout our life. So B12 is a direct role in that. And the other thing is it reduces the buildup of inflammatory chemicals. So as we are living our life and we're experiencing inflammation and we come into contact with things that are going to trigger chronic inflammation in our body, and our body releases inflammatory chemicals, well, B12 actually helps reduce the buildup of them. The best sources of B12 are organ meat and grass-fed meat, wild-caught fish, organic poultry, pasture-raised eggs. Algae and fermented foods has a minute amount, and that would be the vegetarian sources that I would recommend. So algae and fermented foods, but again, it's a minute amount and our body doesn't absorb it as well as we do with B12. We also need a solid, healthy microbiome to absorb B12 because it is the gut bacteria that actually help us do that. So again, we can test for B12 and we can look at those lab levels through the lens of depression and anxiety, mental health, and then we can supplement accordingly and do what we need to do to monitor those levels. So this is a case study, a well-known case study about a 52-year-old woman, postmenopausal, who was struggling with mental health for a long time, and it kept becoming worse and worse and worse. She was a lifelong vegetarian who experienced progressively worsening symptoms until her symptoms became so bad that she was catatonic. So basically like in an awake but unresponsive state. She was treated for months with antipsychotics and antidepressant medications. She was given 2 rounds of electroconvulsive therapy. And then she was transferred to a new hospital. And in the new hospital, they decided to either test her vitamin B12 levels or actually just look at them. And they noticed that her B12 levels were just slightly low, not extremely deficient, just slightly low. Her symptoms before this, years in the making, tearfulness, anxiety, movement issues, constipation, lethargy, and eventually delusions. Within 2 months of identifying the B12 issue, And when they did notice the B12 issue, they gave her I believe they gave her a shot of the B12, which is the best way to get it into the body because it doesn't have to be absorbed through the stomach. It just goes right into the bloodstream. So it's the fastest and most direct way to receive B12. And B12 shots are given actually in a lot of places now. But anyway, within 2 months of identifying the B12 deficiency and getting the shot of B12, she reverted to her baseline mental health of 20 years previous and remained stable. So basically, she recovered. She recovered out of the catatonia. She recovered out of that whole issue of extreme progressive psychotic disorders because of her B12 levels being checked. That is one very extreme but very powerful case to show you how a vitamin deficiency can play such a significant role. All right, pretender number 5. Last pretender, but we got a few medications that I wanted to mention. So, is it possible that symptoms of anxiety and depression, inattention, fatigue are the body saying no to a given medication exposure? We know that medications can have side effects, right? That's not a surprise. But would we actually go as far as to say as maybe it's just not the right thing for our body if we're experiencing that? 7 out of 10 Americans take at least one prescription drug, and over 55% of Americans regularly take 4 prescriptions on average. So over half the population is on at least 4 prescriptions at the same time. It's called polypharmacy. An example of how this effective polypharmacy was done in 2018 at the University of Chicago, and it associated simultaneous use of prescription meds is associated with a greater likelihood of experiencing depression. More than a third of U.S. adults are taking at least one medication that is known to be able to trigger depression. The things that we're going to talk about today are non-psychotic drugs that trigger symptoms of depression, especially in the case of multiple prescriptions, but we're going to address these individually. So we're going to talk about birth control pills, cholesterol statins, and then over-the-counter painkillers like Tylenol and Advil, which are super common. So, birth control pills. 23% of women are more likely, 23% of women on birth control pills are more likely to be treated with antidepressants for women who are taking the combined birth control pill. Progestin-only treated women were 34% more likely to be treated with antidepressants, and teens were 80% more likely to experience depression if prescribed the combined pill. So depression, especially in women who experience, depression occurs, let me restart that. Depression is the most common reason for discontinuation of birth control pills. Research from 13 trials shows younger women who have a personal or family history of psychiatric diagnosis or postpartum depression are even more at risk of experiencing depression due to taking birth control pills. What is recommended instead of the birth control pill is a non-hormonal IUD or tracking your own body temperature throughout your fertility or using a fertility tracker. So anyone who's gone on the birth control pill to regulate PMS and finds that their symptoms actually get worse and go completely off the chart will actually show that this can cause PMDD symptoms. There's tons of anecdotal evidence, and there's lots of research that shows that Sometimes the pill can work to reduce symptoms in the short term, but then cause major PMS flare-ups later down the road. But often it's not known. Like the medical community and social community, it's not really understood well. We just kind of go off one birth control pill and try another until we find the one that fits. I'm going to tell you about Prue, who had been taking an antidepressant for over 2 years, but she wanted to get off of it because she actually wanted to get pregnant. And she felt okay on it at first, but then she felt PMS symptoms and insomnia and fatigue and low libido and flat mood. She actually tried Wellbutrin to pick her up and it helped, but her mood and libido were still low. So through the Natural Solutions protocol, she improved her nutrition. She balanced out her estrogen and progesterone hormones. She added in light exercise. She improved her gut health through the 5R gut protocol. She eventually stopped birth control. And this is where she discovered a borderline low thyroid function, which were also causing her, contributing to her issues. So she was treated with nutrition support and supplementation, as I explained to you over the last couple of days. And her results were life-changing. Her energy was back. She had no problem sleeping anymore. Her anxiety had lifted. And within a year, she was feeling healthy, no longer taking prescriptions, and pregnant. Something that is so amazing and was really, really great to see. All right, so statin cholesterol drugs. How do these masquerade as mental illness? So actually, brain cholesterol deficiency has been shown in bipolar, depression, and schizophrenia. I feel like cholesterol has gotten a bad rap, and we've kind of been scared into thinking like high cholesterol and heart disease and all of that. But new research reveals that statins may actually lessen brain function and increase our risk for diabetes and heart disease and depression. We need cholesterol to actually help the brain function properly. The body and brain need cholesterol in adequate levels in our body in order to thrive. And extremely low cholesterol levels are actually linked to depression, memory loss, and violence. So low cholesterol levels are linked to depression, memory loss, and violence. I just wanted to repeat that because often we're so used to hearing high cholesterol levels. But because people go on statin drugs that lowers their cholesterol so low, these symptoms start to come out. Doctors noted those with mood symptoms have a fasting cholesterol below 160 is kind of like a common average of patients. Brain cholesterol deficiency has been shown in depression and bipolar and schizophrenia. Since cholesterol is also a precursor to our testosterone levels and our estrogen, so without adequate amounts, we'll feel a low libido, we'll have an irregular menstrual cycle, we won't have clear skin, we might start to develop acne, our metabolism will start to imbalance, and our cognition can also be affected. Vitamin D is also produced from our cholesterol, and a vitamin D deficiency is connected to so many issues, including depression, and plays such a vital role in so many reactions in our body. Common painkillers, Tylenol, Advil, the things that we use, at least I used to use like at least once a month around my menstrual cycle. And anytime I had a headache or a little bit of pain, I would take an Advil or a Midol or something like that. And I have to say, since learning a lot of this information over the last few years, I cannot tell you the last time I took an Advil. It's been years. One, because I don't get headaches anymore. Two, because my PMS symptoms are pretty much nothing. Maybe I have a few hours of irritability. And if I don't have to take one, if I'm not in debilitating pain, I do not take anything. But that was very, very rare for me personally. So what's the deal with Tylenol and said pain relievers, right? So, acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, has been used for, God, like 70 years in the US. It's an over the counter painkiller, aches, pains, fever, headache, whatever. But Tylenol gets into the brain and it actually depletes glutathione, which is one of our most important antioxidants for the brain health to decrease cell damage and inflammation. So Tylenol decreases this very important antioxidant that we need for our brain health and to decrease brain inflammation. After taking 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol, people report they feel less empathy, like able to feel less empathy, and have blunted positive emotions. NSAID pain relievers, so this is like your Motrin, your Aleve, your Advil, is known to mess with ovulation and progesterone levels, even after 10 consecutive days of use. Injuring the small intestines has been shown in a few studies. So our small intestines are gut health. It can lead to intestinal damage, which can also lead to leaky gut. And we kind of know now, like, that's just opening the hose to increased inflammation in our entire body and brain. So instead of these common painkillers, I mentioned curcumin yesterday as an anti-inflammatory, but actually curcumin for headaches works really well. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory. It's been used for thousands of years. It can also help with digestive disorders and wound healing, and it has been shown to work as well as ibuprofen to alleviate pain in the knees and from PMS. So one of you asked me how much curcumin to take, and I said it really depends on it depends on the brand of curcumin, but it really depends on the quality of the curcumin in the brand, depending on how much to take. So if it is a higher quality curcumin, it's going to be better absorbed. It's going to be easily absorbed, so you don't have to take as much. For the higher quality, about 100 to 200 milligrams is recommended, up to that. So you can, depending on how sensitive you are, you can try something within that range. And then for curcumin that's not as quality, taking like 1,000 milligrams is what someone would need to have the equivalent effect. I have a couple brand names of curcumin that I recommend that are high quality, bioavailable. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them from their the brand store, of course. But if that's something you're interested in, just reach out to me. I'm happy to share that with you. And the last one we're going to talk about is antibiotics. I don't think this one's a surprise to anybody because antibiotics basically destroy our gut health. That's not an exaggeration. Antibiotics have long been reported to have psychiatric effects, and new science shows the effects of exposure to antibiotics in our gut bacteria can persist for even months after treatment, some not being repairable. That is really significant. In a study done over 18 years, antibiotic use was found to precede diagnosis and treatment for depression, especially in recurrent courses of penicillin, which resulted in a 2 to 5 times increase in depression diagnoses. It's really recommended if you have to take antibiotics, which sometimes you do, not against medication. I'm just saying, if you don't have to take the antibiotics, see if there's another option. If you do have to take the antibiotics, you're going to want to take not only just a probiotic, but also something called Saccharomyces boulardii, which is basically a healthy fungus that is going to help restore your gut health. We want to replenish whatever was lost and imbalanced from taking that antibiotic as soon as possible. So definitely taking those probiotics alongside the antibiotics, and then make sure you're continuing them after. For some people who really just like their gut health has been destroyed from chronic or constant or often antibiotic use, they need to go on like a more intense protocol to replenish the gut bacteria in their microbiome. And this is vital. So vital. Okay, I'm going to take just a breath and a sip of water, and then we're going to go through some common mistakes. All right. So I want you to not make these mistakes. I've made a lot of them over my like stabbing around in the dark, trying to figure things out on my own when I was really struggling, and I don't want you to have to make those. So these mistakes come from my personal experience and from my professional experience. The first thing is you do not want to try to just take a bunch of supplements but not change your nutrition. That won't help. You really need to optimize your nutrition. First, supplements are the additions. They fill in the gaps, but they are not going to carry you out of, healing your mental health just by taking supplements alone and kind of getting away with, or thinking you can get away with, a poor nutrition intake. We talked so much about what it is about nutrition that helps everything kind of start to run well, and we need to make sure that we're having all of those nutrients on a regular basis. Food is chemicals. Food is information. We want to be giving our body the best chemicals that we can so that it can actually help us feel our best every day. The second thing is believing this is only a psychological issue and nothing else. It's not all in your mind. I think we've demonstrated that really well, but sometimes we can forget. This is not just all in our mind. We can be so used to thinking, oh, I'm feeling stressed or I'm feeling anxious, and it's all up here in our head. But what else is going on in your body? What other things have you been exposed to? What might have you have eaten or drank, or even in your environment been exposed to that could have triggered that? The third mistake is treating mental health and physical health separately. The brain and the body are all connected. So let's keep them connected. Let's not disassociate them from one another. What affects the body is also going to affect the brain. Another mistake is doing all of the things or doing none of the things. And we got to throw away all or nothing mentality out the window for literally everything, because this just either leaves us burning ourselves out or feeling like we can't do anything. And I want to get across to you today that even if you took this little by little by little and you made one little step each day, each week, each month, you would still see a difference. Don't let your mind convince you that just because you're not doing all the things, that this is not going to help you. It could take longer, but honestly, everyone's got to move at their own pace. The next mistake is not focusing on healing your gut. Let's just all put it out on the table. We probably all have gut health issues. We all have some level of gut permeability. We have some level of leaky gut. We are just exposed in our world to so many things that are going to stress the gut out, let alone the food that we put into our body. So let's do that gut healing protocol step by step and see what happens. It's not going to hurt. The next one is expecting the solution for this to be like exotic or like, fancy and come with, a parrot and like be from Brazil and have an exotic accent. It might not be fancy. It might not be sexy, but we're always going to bring it back to basics. And then whatever special things that you as an individual need to be doing, we just need to be consistent and committed to it. And that's it. Another mistake is not using adequate supplements, not using adequate supplement quality, not using adequate supplement dosages, and also not using adequate supplements in combination. So these are all things that are really like, it's a lot of information. Like, how do I know how much to take and what supplements quality is good and what dosage? That's the question I get. What dosage do I take? I am giving you an entire ultimate supplement guide to every single mental health supplement, including like combinations of supplements that are really like practiced and protocoled and used to treat a lot of people, and the dosages as well. So you will have that information in the Natural Solutions protocol. And the last common mistake is just trying to figure it out all on your own. And I say that's a mistake because I did that. And even though I came out the other side and I am like stronger for it, if I could have had like me now helping me 10 years ago, I would 1,000% do that. It would have taken me way less time. I would have lost less years of my life trying to figure this out on my own if I had someone alongside me that knew what this was all about. But 10 years ago, I didn't know where to find that person, even if they did exist, even if I could get over my own ego. So these are the common mistakes that I want you to avoid. So what are the next steps basically? So this is the like 9-step process, how to apply everything that we learned this week step by step by step. And you might be asking like, why is she giving this to us? Doesn't she do this with her clients? Like, isn't this like secret information? Well, I don't want this to be secret information. Why should this be secret information? This should be information that like we learn from the get-go. This should be so obvious and so helpful that we don't even need to dive in like this deeply. We don't even need to like be so down in this hole, in our deep dark hole, that we need to go through this protocol. But these are just things that we just do because it's a part of our lifestyle. But I'm giving it to you because I want you to, one, see the steps that are required, to know not to miss anything, and to also give yourself empowerment. Like, this is something that is not impossible. This is something that is not like proprietary information. If anything, having a coach, having a functional nutritionist to work alongside can just help you understand your experience and understand the messages from your body and understand the lab work and help you put the pieces of the puzzle together so that you're not looking like, how do I, at the entire puzzle broken up, but you're able to help, we can always complete a puzzle faster with 2 people versus 1. That's all I'm going to say. So you can screenshot that if you like. So my question is, why did you sign up for this workshop? Many of you have shared with me that you're here today because you want to take a more natural approach to get real relief from anxiety and depression. Many of you have shared with me that you're here because you've just not been getting the healing you were hoping for through medication and therapy alone. You've shared that you're here because you don't want to wake up feeling happy, motivated, and looking forward to living your life without battling depression and anxiety daily. Like waking up feeling good without having to worry about battling your own mind. You're here because you're tired of weeding through the confusing and overwhelming amount of information online about natural methods. Like how, and you don't even really come out with clear answers either, which is super frustrating. You're here today because you have more questions that your regular doctor can't provide answers for. You're ready to do something about this now, and you just want the clear steps. So at this point, you have 2 options. You can continue doing what you've been doing, or you can do something different. You can decide that this is the year you're going to dedicate to healing your brain and mind by healing your body. So transparently, I really wanted to create something that would make option 2 accessible because it's so inaccessible. Like, I wanted this information to be available, for it to be clear, for the steps to be understandable. I wanted it to be easy to not only just like grasp the concepts, but apply into your own life. As we've said before, knowledge is useless unless you apply it. I also wanted you to understand that lab testing is a key piece of this, but we need to get the correct labs tested and then assessed through that specific lens for mental health. And I wanted to make it affordable. It is so expensive how much we spend on our mental health. It's really expensive to work with a functional nutrition professional, even if your insurance covers it, which for some reason it doesn't often. It's also really expensive to go to therapy. It's also really expensive to pay for medications every month. It's also really expensive to, and the list goes on. And it adds up. And I'm the first person to tell you investing in your health is investing in like the best quality of life that you can ask for. Like if we don't have our health, what do we have? It's going to be a lot harder to enjoy the rest of life if we don't have our health. So I wanted to make this affordable for anyone who decides to do it. I wanted to be there guiding you with my professional and my personal experience, giving you accountability, giving you clear answers, answering your questions, like finally getting you answers to those questions, helping you solve like little, obstacles that you come across, helping you understand how to heal your gut and optimize your nutrition and what supplements to take. I love this stuff, you guys. I am obsessed with this. I love learning it. I love teaching it, and I want to empower you with that information. So I created this program. It's called the Natural Solutions Course to Anxiety and Depression. And it's really that program that you've been wanting. It's the program guiding you step by step to heal your mind through healing and the underlying issues in your body. And we start on Monday, November 15th. So that's in a little less than 2 weeks. So it's coming up soon, and you can enroll now for a special discounted price because you're in the early bird workshop. So I will walk you through each step in this program. There are different modules that are slowly released one at a time, taking you through the steps that you need to be focusing on now, not tomorrow, but now, like in that day, in that moment. And I walk you through it. It's really comprehensive. There's going to be videos and audios, but it will be something that you can just carve out a few minutes of time in your day to watch, to take away the action steps, and then start applying them. I don't want this to just be like you sit and you learn and you take notes and then you don't apply it to your life. There's going to be things to do each week that you will check off and keep yourself progressing. There is also 2 group coaching calls every month, and these group coaching calls are on Zoom. So we can see each other face to face, we can have conversations face to face. The whole group, who's ever in the program, is able to meet and do that. And I'll announce when those group coaching calls are beforehand each month. So you'll know and you can mark it off on your calendar, and I'll answer any questions that have come up with you that aren't being answered in the program itself. So what do you really get out of this program? You get knowledge and you get freedom to understand what drives your depression and anxiety symptoms and how to take your power back. You get a partner in the hole with you. Hi. A guide who's been there to help you climb your way out of your own deep, dark hole. You're also going to get to learn to trust yourself, to trust your body, to learn what the messages are, how to interpret them, what anxiety and depression messages could actually mean for you in a way that supports you physiologically. You'll also get empowerment. It is so freaking empowering to be able to help yourself, to be able to know what hurts you and what helps you, what supports you and what doesn't, and then actually take action on it and stand for that. It is so freaking empowering that you can handle what life throws at you because you understand your body. You're also going to get answers and a plan of action, healing your body, which is different than my body, which is different than this person's body, and tap into what helps you feel your absolute best every day. And you're also going to get an expanded capacity for joy and experience of life. Don't let these physiological root causes hold you back from healing your trauma, healing your mind, healing your emotions, none of that. So you're also going to get, in addition to all of those step-by-step video modules, you're also going to get a how-to tutorial section. It's basically like a library breaking down the latest neuroscience methods on actually what helps our mental health. So breaking down exercise and what types of exercise and how much exercise, breaking down how to use cold therapy, breaking down how to use emotional freedom technique and what types of breath work increase your energy and what types of breath work calm you. And I know that a lot of us know meditation, and we have our, meditation's either like something that we do or we find it really, really hard to do. I am not an expert in meditation, that's for sure. I struggle with it myself, but we will talk about why it works and how it works. And then I will give you some recommendations for really great free programs that I love that I find do help me meditate. You'll also get, not done yet, you'll also get the Ultimate Mental Health Supplement Guide. So this is a booklet that you can download. It will be included in the program where all your supplement questions are answered. What high quality supplements to take, the recommendations I give, the recommended dosages depending on what's going on, when to take them, how to take them with food, at night, in the morning. And I will also give you like supplement combinations, which is called supplement stacks, which is basically supplements that work in tandem together. And they've been like tested, and they're protocols that are used specifically for like depression and anxiety and things like that. So this is like such a golden piece of information. I'm so excited to be able to include this with it. Plus, you'll get weekly action plans. You'll get a workbook for all of the modules. You'll get a done-for-you list of labs and a letter that you will give your doctor, requesting that they order these labs for you. You'll get a few guides. You'll get recipes. We're going to have a community, which is not on Facebook, not on Facebook community, so anybody can join our private community. Now, I just want to take note that this is not for everyone. This is not for anyone looking for a magic bullet or quick fix. That's not what I do. That's not what I'm shelling out here. That's not at all what this is. So if you're looking for that, this program is not for you. This is not for anyone who is experiencing depression purely because of loss or grief. There could be other reasons you're experiencing depression in combination with that. But if that is what is the root cause of your depression, I'm just saying this program won't hurt. It won't be bad for it, but it may not be the thing that is going to be for you right now. So I just want to mention that. And I'm so sorry for your loss. This is not for anyone who has unresolved trauma that you are currently not addressing in therapy. So if you have unresolved stuff that you need to work on, you need to be in therapy for it as you're doing this program. That is something that I really highly recommend. This is also not for anyone who wants to just treat their symptoms and they don't want to do the work to find the underlying causes. And lastly, this isn't for anyone just not willing to put in the work and put in the time into doing your part, because I'm going to show up every day just like this, 100% giving my all, because I'm going to pour into you. I know how powerful this is. I know how empowering this is. I know how life-changing this is. And I'm going to want it for you so bad. And I just want you to meet me there. You can go at your own pace. Just because we're starting on the 15th doesn't mean that it finishes or you have to be done by a certain point. You can go as slow as you want or as fast as you want. Everything is guided step by step through the videos, the modules, the coaching calls. You can access it 24/7 anywhere in the world. You get expert support alongside you. You get a supportive community who is also working on their stuff right next to you. And you can do this. Like, my story is unique to my life, but it is not uncommon. I've worked with dozens of clients who've improved their mood and their energy from following these protocols, and they've learned to navigate their own personalized health needs and live a more experienced life. So the value of this, when I add it all up, I actually stopped counting because it adds up to a lot. Like, the value of this program is over $6,500, and I'm not gonna be shy about that. It is a lot of value, but I also said I wanted to make this affordable, and I am keeping that promise. So the regular price of this program is $21.97. That's a big difference from the total value. But because you are watching this workshop, because you have spent so much time and I know that you are really serious about this, I am giving you a special workshop price of $13.97. That is a total savings of $800. So your price is $13.97 and you can save $800 by signing up for this now. And of course, I didn't just give you like a pay in full process, pay in full option, because I know that sometimes you want a payment plan. I totally get it. I love a payment plan. And that makes it more accessible. So another way I wanted to make this affordable was giving a payment plan. So the early bird payment plan, the workshop payment plan, is $147 a month for 12 months. If you decide to pay in full, you'll get it'll be $13.97. Sorry, that's a typo, $13.97, and you'll save the $800. But now I wanted to make sure that you got some bonuses because this is a big investment. So usually this is only a 12-month access to this program. Like you have 12 months to do everything. But for those of you who are signing up through this special, you're getting lifetime access to all this information and any future updates that I do, which is like invaluable. It's priceless. You're going to get a second bonus. I feel like Oprah. Second bonus, 1 year Warrior Team workout subscription for free. So you will get a full year's subscription to my Warrior Team workouts, which have been going on for like over 3 years now. And you will have a movement for mental health program already done for you. You just go in, you sign in, you do the on-demand workout from home. 22 minutes later, you're done. It's great. It's so much fun. And we have shirts. So that's bonus number 2. That was a $550 value for free. And then if you can pay in full, you will get a bonus for doing that. So the bonus for paying in full is getting a free mental health coaching call with me with a lab assessment. So sometimes those labs are they're just very confusing, and understanding them and what that means for you. I will do a full lab assessment for you and do the full workup and write out what it means and what you need to do. And then we'll do a virtual coaching call, really setting your specific plan and needs and what you need to do. You'll also get 50% off any supplements that you are going to have to order instead of paying in full, which is that's a pretty big deal. So 50% off is what you'll get for this pay in full bonus. And then the last bonus, which I kind of was like, should I do this? This is kind of crazy. But I really know the power of doing a program with someone that you love, with a friend. And so just for the next 24 hours, there's a pay in full bonus that you can get 2 for the price of 1. Basically, you will pay the one price, the pay in full, $13.97. And you can invite a friend to do this with you and split the cost of that membership. So 2 for the price of 1. So you can get, 1 for you, 1 for your loved one, and you can split the cost between the 2 of you. So instead of paying $13.97 each, you only pay $698 each. And that's only available for pay in full, but still, that's a big discount too. So that is something, if you have a friend that might want to do this with you, or you want to sign up and then you want to ask them to split it with you, that is, however you decide to do that is up to you, but only in the next 24 hours is that available. So this is where you can enroll now. I'm actually going to drop the enrollment links into the chat. And you can see the pay in full option, and you can see the payment plan option. And what I just want to make sure you understand as well is that these are special prices that are only going to be around for the next 3 days. So you have 3 days to make your final decision if you want the discount, because the price will go up in 3 days. So if you want the special workshop price of $13.97, or the payment plan of $147 a month, you're going to want to jump in on this now. And the question is, can you afford to not do this? You know how much you've spent in the past on doctors and therapy and meds. It adds up. And if it's helped you, amazing. But the question is, do you believe that you could be actually helping yourself from another angle? What is it costing you to not find out how to support your body to heal your brain? What are you maybe prolonging in your mental health struggle? So this is how I look at things. I break them down comparatively and I try to make substitutions. Like I try to budget where this is going to work for me. So I know that therapy often costs between like $150 to $250 per session, depending on where you live. It's expensive. So that's per session. And if you're going 4 times a month, you do the math. Seeing a functional medicine doctor is average $400 a session. I've seen doctors charge $800 for a consultation. Supplements can cost $50 to $500 a month, depending on what you're buying and how often you're buying them. And just for reference, a one-to-one coaching package with me is $800 a month. Or you can do this program. This program is a one-time payment of $13.97, or you can do 12 monthly payments of only $147 a month. So when you break it down that way, it's a huge bargain. It's a huge bargain for the value, for the time, for the professional guidance you're going to get, as well as everything else in terms of the information and the actions. So these are your bonuses again, just as a reminder. You get lifetime access to everything. You're going to get a full year's access to the Warrior Team workout subscription program. You're also going to get, if you pay in full, a mental health nutrition coaching call with me. And if you want to take advantage of the buy one, get one, that's going to end in 24 hours from now. So you get lifetime access to all the things, all the modules, all the videos, all the monthly group coaching calls, the online community, all the guides, all of the things, all the supplement guides, everything. So just a reminder, the price goes up in 3 days. And if you have questions right now about it, please send me them in the chat. Please click the chat at the bottom right and I'll answer them as soon as I see it. And ask me anything. Some of you have asked me some questions already, like, I'm overwhelmed. How will I know what to do when, and how will I stay on track? This is why I drip release the modules out to you slowly. So you'll only be able to see the next module until you complete the previous one, which really keeps you focused. I know that I get overwhelmed easily when I do online programs. So that's how I do that. Can I do this if I'm in therapy or currently on medication? Absolutely. This program was actually designed to be done alongside anyone who's in therapy or on medication. It's just going to enhance your healing. It's just going to be the third leg of that stool that is going to help you stand up straight and upright. I would absolutely advise that you tell your doctors what you're doing and what's involved, because we're going to need their help on probably ordering lab tests, and then we want to get their we just want them to be aware of anything that you're doing if you're on medication. How long will this program take me? So you're going to have lifetime access, which is amazing. And the information is going to be dripped out probably over the course of 3 months. So by the end of 3 months, you'll have all of the things, but I'm dripping it out so that you only need to focus on one thing at a time. And it's going to be focused on, very specifically in the order that you need to be doing everything. And then will I have access to anything before we officially begin? So yes, we officially begin on November 15th, but you'll have access to the Warrior workouts. You'll get some of the guides ahead of time, and you'll also have access to me before November 15th as well. So you will have a lot going on and a lot to be able to take advantage of. All right, so program starts November 15th and the price goes up in 3 days. Take advantage of the excuse me, of the pay in full option or the payment plan. And we are going to rock and roll, you guys. I cannot wait to begin with you. I'm so excited. And I will see you in the program. Thank you so much for your time this week. Thank you so much for just your patience and your engagement. I am going to be going live tonight in the Facebook group and on Instagram at 8 p.m. So if you want to hang out and ask me questions, I will be there and we will talk some more. All right, everybody, have an amazing day, and I will see you later tonight. Bye.